Hey, what's up? It's Rob Gordon, the Wingman. 4th of July weekend, but I'm at the lake. Just got back into town from NorCal where I picked up a new board from Vince at VB Surfboards. I did test it out already yesterday at Chrissy, but the wind was crazy. I already know the board is really good, but now I want to test it out, get some footage with some better wind, a little bit more consistent so I can really get a feel for it. Long story with this board, Vince and I had worked out another board that we tried, and it was more of like a downwind hybrid kind of shape, and honestly, I just didn't really like it. I think the downwind hybrid boards are kind of not that great. I'll get maybe more into that later. Yeah, so I went back to Vince and I was like, hey Vince, this isn't working for me. He ended up taking that board, really liked it, and he rode it for a while, and then I think he sold it to someone else who liked it as well. I was like, Vince, let's try and do something a little bit more geared toward freestyle, and I just really like a flat bottom. I think it's the best way to get up on foil. I really do. I think it's the fastest way to plane, as we know from windsurfing. I tested out the other board in the kind of conditions where I would think that I need that sort of barracuda shaped bottom, and I just didn't find that it was very helpful. I found a flat bottom is more stable, it planes early, and if you can pump the wing at all, you can get up on it. If I had enough wind to get going on the barracuda shaped bottom, I had enough wind to pump on foil, so it just didn't make sense to me. I want the one that planes easier. There are some circumstances where I think maybe it could work if you're not good at pumping, if you can't pump that hard, or it's, you have bad shoulders or something, or you want to use really high aspect foils that need to go faster before you take off, like maybe high stall speeds foils, like maybe there's some purpose to it, but I took it out in the conditions that I would want it for, and I didn't really find a lot of use for it. I'd rather have a shorter board, flat bottom. Anyway, so we worked on this board. It's 410 by 23, has a lot of rocker, completely flat all the way to the rail, so it really maximizes the volume. And the best part is it's super light. On the jumps yesterday, without even trying, I was jumping twice as high as my waterlogged board. A couple of the features I'll talk about later, but let's get on the water, get some footage, and should be pretty good today. I think I'll take the 6 right now. I'd like to take the 5, but I think it looks like 6 conditions.
And so here's the new board. A lot of volume in the front to keep that nose up when you're trying to get on foil. Narrow in the back for good turns. There's a little bit of contour in that nose and some rocker to keep it up and out of the water. Then a solid rail and a little bit of rocker in the back. And it's flat all the way across to the edge. That maximizes the surface area to start planing. You'll also notice that the tracks are pretty far forward. That allows you to ride in straps and still use a higher aspect, newer style foil without a shim and, be able to have that front foot pressure. And that allowed me to take out my 150 Viper with a 0 shim and a shank rear tail, which is the least front foot pressure. You can see I still have a centimeter in the front. Look how far in front of my back foot strap that is. And you say, Rob, why would you want to do that? Well, it's going to make the Viper so much less drag, so much faster, so much turnier, almost out of control. And I only did one speed run on this day, but you can see I got up to 25 miles an hour really easily. Did have to fight that pitch stabilization and it was a little bit out of control, but it was awesome because it's so much faster. And this wasn't even an option with my old board because even with the foot straps all the way back and the mast all the way forward, there's just not enough front foot pressure without a shim. The other thing that forward mast seems to do is it seems to make landing jumps easier. Here I mess up a jump and I still land so easily because I think it just balances out your weight. And here's another example, just testing out the grabs, because that's actually one of the harder things to land because sometimes you lose the momentum, and still no problem landing, even on a little small one. So one of the most important things on a freestyle board to me is being able to start it easily, because if you're going to jump and crash a lot, you're going to have to restart a lot, and we don't have that great a wind. Here I'm on the 6 meter and it was windy, so you can see the board just pops up right away. It's got that volume in the nose and that flat bottom, and that combo is just a light wind machine. Here I'm on the 5 meter a little later, and it's less windy, so I'm having to work more for it. But you can see the board is so stable with that flat bottom, and then you just get all that planing surface area. The nose stays out of the water, and you can just get yourself up on foil so easily. And let's look at a few turns. Here's a heel side. You can see just whipping around with that narrow tail and the zero shim. And that Viper 150, you can turn on a dime if you want to. A little behind the back tack. Getting a little more glide on that 150 around there with that zero shim. Here's another heel side tack coming up, I think. When I'm with this setup, you can ride with the back foot out and it feels really good. But you can still put the back foot in whenever you want to do a jump. So it works out really well. And this is just a straight air. Automatically, literally, just so easy to get way higher with that lighter board than an old waterlogged board. You wouldn't think, 10 pounds or so would make such a big difference. It does. If only I could lose 10 pounds. That's the Rayleigh, I was not even winging that well, to be honest. I was kind of pushing because the conditions were so good. I finally got good wings. I finally got a good board. I was like, I got to do something awesome because it's so good out here. And of course, whenever you try and do that, you kind of underperform, trying the handle pass, not even getting close on that one. But I was on the 6 meter. It was gusting up close to 30. I was going to rig my 5, but then Doug from Ventura showed up. He's like, I think I need to take my 8. And I was like, all right, I'll take my 6. And then after about 30 minutes, he's like, I'm going in for a 6, man. It's really windy out here. I was like, I told you, Doug. But then, yeah, so we went in and he switched to a 6. I switched to a 5. There's his new 80 V3 Strike. He seems to really enjoy that wing.
Doug from Ventura convinced me we should rig big. I rigged a 6. It's nuking out there. He was on an 8. He rigged a 6. I'm down to a 5. Let's go back out and try it again.
If you'll notice, there's something not right here. See if you can spot it. I'd actually let go of my wing in the water with the leash unattached, and miraculously it didn't fly away in this good wind. There I'm struggling to get my leash back on while I'm riding. Don't let go. Back in the old days of kiteboarding, before the good safety systems, I used to ride without a leash kiteboarding. This board is super light. I just weighed it with the straps and leash on it. It was like 10 pounds or so. And I took some big slams, especially out at Chrissy and Leo, and some big jumps landing. So far, so good. It's holding up. Really, I think I could even go down to the 50-liter board because this thing gets started so quickly, and that's probably going to be around 8 pounds. Here you see me throw a little peace sign to the Rangers as they drive by and create a wake for me to do a little Rayleigh off of. And it's super easy to Rayleigh this board because it weighs so little. I mean, I think if you wanted to make it even stronger, you could ask Vince to throw 6-ounce carbon instead of 4-ounce on there. But I don't know if it's necessary. If you're a lighter rider on the 50-liter board, it's probably going to be strong enough as it is. Unfortunately, the session came to a pretty abrupt ending when my new selfie stick failed on this crash.
Man, good thing we had the GoPro tether. Just the new GoPro stick. Oh wow, it broke. It broke at the actual pipe. Not even the... I thought for sure it was the epoxy came off. No, the pipe broke. Wow. Alright, GoPro stop recording. Alright, so I just got off the water. Second session riding the VB Surfboards jumper. That's what Vince is calling this thing. He might call it the wingman. I don't know. I say that, the wingman thing, because we had worked on that first board together. It didn't really work out for what I like to do, the freestyle, so much. Then we put in some of my ideas, some of his ideas, and this is what he came up with, and it just absolutely rips. It's so good, even better today than yesterday. Some of the features that make this so good, it has a lot of rocker in the front and the back, has a ton of nose volume, and that allows you to get going even on a smaller board without sinking the nose. It's really helpful. The bottom is completely flat all the way to the rails. That gives you a lot more volume for the same size footprint. It maximizes your surface area. Look, downwind boards are a lie. I'm sorry, they're a lie. I don't believe it. We know from windsurfing, surface area and wide boards plane fast. Boards with a narrow profile cut through the water and they go fast through the water, but to actually get a board on a plane, this is the answer. I'm sorry, that's what works. Now, like I said, there might be situations where the narrow board could be beneficial for some people, or maybe if you want to do sup downwind and you want to use a high aspect foil, maybe that's the case. I'm going to try and do a video of learning to sup flat water soon and test it out. And I know nothing about supping, really. But in my experience, these boards get going faster. Surface area, maximizing your surface area for your volume. The track placement. We really worked on the track placement to make it so that you can ride the new foils and have your foot straps wherever you want them to be, and it's all going to work out. Today, I rode the shank with a 0 shim. Not possible on my old board. It's just not possible. You would be riding, all your weight on your back foot. I still had an inch of room riding that setup, and it allowed the Viper to go so much faster, whipping around the turns, almost too fast. I might even go back and use the 0.5 shim on it, or maybe even put it forward a little bit more. I don't know, but I have the options to ride with less shim, and that means a faster foil, a more responsive foil, faster turns, more glide. It's just a better way to ride. Other things that we did, the tail is a little narrow. The tail is a little more narrow, so you can really whip your turns. It's a half an inch narrower than my board, but it feels bigger because we maximized that surface area all the way to the end and that volume. The only negative about this board so far is it's so light, you better be careful when you set it on the ground because it'll blow away and get dinged up. Honestly, this thing is so light. It weighs nothing. Like literally, it weighs nothing. I took some pretty big crashes and I had some pretty big jumps landing straight down, and so far, no cracks or anything. We'll see if this holds up. Vince has beefed it up. He's put in Divinycell in the foot straps and in the tracks, and he wrapped it like a super heavy lap. He might even do a 6-ounce carbon on going forward. But we'll see if it holds up. So far, so good. It's worth it to me. At lighter board, immediately my jumps are twice as high as on my board. It's incredible. The conditions were so good today, but I was really pushing because I had a good wing now. I got a good board. My foil was fast. Conditions are so good. We haven't had the good conditions. I was pushing. I was trying to overdo it. I was trying to go for a 720. I just trying too much. My GoPro mount snapped and I said, I guess I could go back out. It's still nuking. It's still like up to 30 in the gust, but I said, I'll just call it a day. It was fun. It's a good board. You gotta check these out. Vince is gonna have these on his website. Tell him that I sent you. Say, hey, I want that Wingman board. I want that jumper board. Wingman said you'll give me a free t-shirt if I get a board from you. I don't know. We'll see if he gives you a discount. Anyway, check it out. It's so awesome. So light. Track placement in the right spot. Oh yeah, one other thing. Landing jumps. I don't know what it is. If it's because the foil is farther forward, landing jumps is so much easier. I land the jumps and the board just wants to stay level. Whereas before I had to fight it on my other board. Something about the track placement, you'll hit a huge jump and then it just lands level. I'm landing almost all of the straight jumps every single time and riding really quickly out of them. Still got to work on the spin landings a little bit, but this board seems to be the ticket. Really going to be an amazing board for light wind at Topanga, surfing. It's an everything board. I know he's calling this the jumper, but I think this is probably his best board. Don't tell him I said that. But I think this is going to work so well in the waves. I did a speed run. I went to like 25 miles on the Viper. This board rules. Check it out. Get one. The Wingman VB surfboard, or the jumper, whatever you want to call it. Peace out.